Hello everyone, my name is Rachel, and welcome back to another true crime video. So the case that I have for you all today is one that is technically solved, but I feel like there is the potential for having a lot of different opinions on what really happened in this case. I have what I think happened, and I'll tell you at the end, but I'm really looking forward to hearing what all of you think about this case. So with that being said, let's just jump right into the case. 17-year-old Mackenzie Shirilla was from Strongsville, Ohio, where she lived with her parents, Natalie and John. Mackenzie was in a relationship with 20-year-old Dominic Russo. According to Dominic's sister, Christine, Dominic was a very goal-oriented young man who had big plans for his future and who made the most out of each and every day. He loved playing basketball, and he was in the early process of opening up his own companies, one of which was a clothing line. He also loved producing music and had a passion for learning about himself and others. He always wanted to improve himself and strive to learn about other cultures and get a better understanding of the world around him. He was known to be kind with an amazing sense of humor. He was also the best uncle to Christine's children, and he loved being an uncle, and his nieces and nephews adored him as well. In the early morning hours of July 31st, 2022, according to those who were close to Mackenzie and Dominic, the two of them had been hanging out and smoking weed that prior evening, going into the early morning hours of that day, July 31st. At some point, they had been with a friend of Dominic's and a newer friend of Mackenzie's, 19-year-old Davion Flanagan. Davion Flanagan was adopted along with his two younger siblings from foster care when they were young. Davion was described by his parents as a kind young man who had a ton of friends and was loved by everybody around him. He was the kind of person who would go out of his way to help out a friend, even if it was in the middle of the night. He went out of his way to show others just how much he loved them and made sure to show everyone, no matter who they were, what their abilities were, or how much others saw them as an outcast, just how important they were. Davion was a gifted athlete who had dreams of going to barber school and hoping to open up his own barbershop someday. According to Davion's family, Mackenzie had been driving him home that morning. However, at around 5:30 a.m. on July 31st, 911 received a call to report that a serious car accident had taken place. When police arrived to the scene, they found out that Mackenzie's 2018 Toyota Camry had slammed into the side of a building in the Cleveland suburb of Strongsville, which again was where Mackenzie was from. It turned out that the crash had taken place 45 minutes prior before a witness called 911 to report this. And by the time first responders arrived, they saw that the car had been absolutely totaled. It was just destroyed. And when they looked inside of the wreckage, they found 3 people inside of the car. And unfortunately, by the time help arrived, 19-year-old Davion Flanagan and 20-year-old Dominic Russo were deceased at the scene. However, Mackenzie, the driver, she was found unconscious, but she was still alive. When first responders arrived, she was found trapped in the driver's seat with her fuzzy Prada slipper stuck to the accelerator of the car. Of course, police wondered if it was possible that Mackenzie had been driving under the influence, and that is how her car crashed. They found that Mackenzie had been smoking weed, and they also found magic mushrooms in the car as well. So it was clear that Mackenzie had probably been doing drugs that day. After the crash, of course, Mackenzie was sent to the hospital for treatment, and miraculously, she didn't have any serious injuries. She was in a wheelchair for a little bit, but overall, she made a full recovery and returned to normal function. When they tested her blood in the hospital, it was found that she did have marijuana in her system that was above the legal limit. So it's possible that this caused her to be under the influence, and that could have been what caused the crash. Also, while in the hospital, she was clearly shaken up. But it seemed that she was more so concerned about getting in trouble and what the consequences for her were going to be, rather than the fact that her boyfriend and her friends' lives had been lost. She said to investigators while still at the hospital, "Can't you just take my license for 10 years or something?" In the days after the death of her boyfriend, Mackenzie made posts to show her heartbreak of the devastating loss. On Dominic's obituary, she posted a photo of the two of them at prom with the tag Strongsville Prom 2022 with the caption, "You are the love of my life. You will always be with me and I will always think about you." Then on August 6th, a week after the crash, she wrote another post that reads, "I love you, Dom. You are my soulmate. I won't ever forget the memories we made together. You made me the girl I am today, and you are just an amazing, bright soul." And then she said that she wished to hug him one more time. On August 8th, she posted again, "I love you, my nug. I will never stop thinking about you." Then on August 24th, she posted a photo of them, which shows that they are at Universal Resort in Orlando. She wrote with this post, quote, "I miss you, nug. I still feel like you're just going to walk in the door any second. I miss your laugh, your perfect smile. I feel your energy around me every day. I just wish it was physical. God, you are the last person to deserve this. You had such a perfect life ahead of you. I wish I told you all this more. Please wait for me." Another post then came from Mackenzie's family, which said, "She loved you. We loved you. My whole family loved you. Forever in our hearts. Forever." However, as police investigated the crash, it started to seem like maybe this wasn't just a random accident. Maybe it wasn't a case of a young woman who made a bad choice to do drugs behind the wheel of a car and her boyfriend and friend died as an unfortunate result. Police started to wonder if this crash was maybe caused on purpose. Police were actually able to find surveillance video which shows Mackenzie calmly traveling at a safe speed, going around the corner with no issue. Then the footage shows her speeding up to over 100 miles per hour before making absolutely no attempt to brake before slamming directly into the wall of that building. Then police looked into the car's computer system and it showed that as Mackenzie was speeding up, she jerked the steering wheel to the right and then to the left in order to get off of the street and continue onto the building. It showed that she pressed the accelerator to the floor to speed up, so pedal to the metal, and then did not hit the brake at any point. So the fact that there was absolutely no attempt made to hit the brakes as she was accelerating shows that she was either so intoxicated that she didn't realize what was happening, or she didn't want to avoid a crash. But obviously you have to wonder, why would a young woman, a 20-year-old young woman with so much life ahead of her, choose to crash this car in such a violent way on purpose? But more information came out that could tell us why. Friends of Dominic and Mackenzie's, as well as Dominic's family, started coming forward to police to report that the relationship between the two of them was very tumultuous, becoming particularly volatile in the weeks before the crash. One friend told the police about an incident where the two had gotten into such a severe fight with a friend in the car, so the two of them were fighting and the friend was in the car with them, that the friend had to pry Dominic out of the car to stop the altercation. Then another friend said that just the week before the crash, they overheard Mackenzie threatening to crash their car that Dominic was in while she was driving. It scared Dominic so much that he called a friend that day, asking him to pick him up so that he didn't have to drive anywhere with Mackenzie. Then police recovered a few different videos and recordings taken from Mackenzie's phone that showed just how badly she treated Dominic. First, police heard a recording of another incident where Mackenzie was threatening to key Dominic's car, and another incident where she threatened to break the handle off of a door at his home after he refused to let her enter his home. They heard her on video degrading Dominic, threatening him, damaging his property, and treating him like trash. Then, in the weeks and months after the fatal crash, those who loved Damien and Dominic were disturbed by Mackenzie's behavior. She was driving around a car, going out and hanging out with friends. She went to parties and dressed up for Halloween without a care in the world. She went to concerts and posted on social media pictures and videos of her dancing and hanging out with friends and continued her life without any regard for what happened. They felt that she literally did not care at all that the boyfriend she claimed to love so much was gone because of what she did. So based on the evidence gathered from the surveillance video, as well as the car's computer system, as well as subjective reporting from friends who said that the two had this very toxic relationship, police felt that there was more than enough evidence to show that Mackenzie purposely crashed that car in order to kill her boyfriend and to end their relationship. So she was arrested and charged with 12 counts, including 2 charges of murder, felonious assault, aggravated vehicular homicide, drug possession, and possession of criminal tools. She was held on a $500,000 bond until her bench trial. A bench trial is a trial without a jury, where the judge will hear the evidence and decide the verdict and sentence. For these charges, her trial started just last month in August of 2023. The prosecution argued that Mackenzie was a selfish, vindictive teenager who was in a tumultuous relationship with her boyfriend. They said that the crash was malicious and a deliberate act of murder to end their toxic relationship. They said that Davion was just an unfortunate victim of collateral damage who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. They said that Mackenzie's intention was to kill Dominic, and that Davion being in the backseat was basically like having a suitcase back there to Mackenzie. She didn't care that someone was back there. She saw him as cargo that wasn't going to get in the way of her doing what she set out to do, which was killing her boyfriend. At her trial, the prosecution outlined Mackenzie as a careless, heartless, selfish young woman. She often posted to social media and boasted about how often she did drugs and how she was the kind of girl that every guy would die for. Even after the death of her boyfriend and while still in the hospital, Mackenzie was on social media reaching out to modeling agencies looking for work. They said that there were multiple pictures and videos of Mackenzie driving recklessly, smoking, doing drugs, and drinking alcohol while she was driving. They talked about her behaviors, how she went partying, hung out with friends, and posted to social media as normal after the tragic death of her beloved boyfriend. They pointed out how she continued driving a vehicle after the crash, which I'm sure wasn't allowed, saying that her own mother was the one who allowed it, even letting her use her car. They talked about how badly she treated Dominic and that it was clear that they had a very toxic relationship, which could be seen by those video and audio recordings that I discussed just a few minutes ago. Then they talked about how she made that comment in the hospital about asking them to just revoke her license for 10 years. They said that she was more worried about her driving privileges and getting in trouble than the lives that she had just ended. They talked about how the computer system on Mackenzie's car shows a clear lack of effort to slow down at any point during this, which says to them that she intentionally accelerated the car to dangerous speeds before heading straight into that wall on purpose. They talked about how when she was driving in a more populated area, she was seen driving safely and normally. She had total control of the car. They talked about how she pre-planned the route that she took so that she would end up in a less populated area where there wouldn't be many other cars or witnesses around. Then she chose to cause the crash at 5:30 in the morning, knowing that there wouldn't be anybody around to see the crash or report it to the police right away. This was clearly planned and calculated. That she drove the car carefully and controlled in a more populated area, drove it to the area where there were less people, and then suddenly she somehow sped up and lost control of the car. However, the defense argued that Mackenzie simply lost control of the car and that the crash was an accident. They said that there was no way that she would risk her own life like that on purpose just to kill her boyfriend. They said that the two actually had a pretty good relationship and that they were teenage lovebirds. They pointed to her posts on his obituary as proof of this. Mackenzie had no reason to want to kill her boyfriend in such a violent way. At the trial, Mackenzie's mother, Natalie, actually testified that Mackenzie suffers from postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS for short. POTS is a group of disorders which includes orthostatic intolerance as the main symptom. Orthostatic intolerance is a condition where the person has lower blood volume, so when someone goes from lying down to standing up, the blood takes longer to get proper circulation, causing the heart rate to increase, hence tachycardia to compensate for the lower blood volume, which can cause dizziness, lightheadedness, and even fainting. Now, to sort of put this into perspective, think about a time that you may have been very dehydrated, or maybe you were laying down all day and not moving much, and then you stand up quickly and suddenly your heart is pounding, you feel a little bit unsteady, and sometimes your vision blacks out for a second. You either sit back down or you stand there for a second to get your bearings, and then it goes away and you can continue as normal. That's basically what POTS is, but someone with POTS experiences it regularly and a lot more severely. I think it's safe to say that most people get this occasionally. I get this all the time when I'm going from lying down to standing up too quickly. I have to kind of get my bearings before I can, start walking again. But most of the time, people won't pass out or anything. It's really just a fast heartbeat and unsteadiness for most, and then they can continue after a couple of seconds. But people with POTS will sometimes faint or pass out from how bad their orthostatic hypotension is. So at the trial, Natalie basically tried saying that because of Mackenzie's POTS diagnosis, she could have gotten very dizzy, lost control of the car, and that is how the crash happened. I do want to note that weed does make orthostatic hypotension worse. If you've ever smoked weed and then been lying down and then stood up too quickly, chances are you've experienced orthostatic hypotension. So if Mackenzie was smoking weed and also had POTS, it's possible that her dizziness could have caused her to lose control of the car and to crash it. The defense also said that Mackenzie had no memory of the crash after it happened. She couldn't remember how it happened or what happened to cause it. So again, that could mean that she passed out as a result of her condition and the car crashed while she was unconscious. Police say that Mackenzie texted Dominic's mother after the crash, saying that she would need hypnotism to remember the crash. She said in a text, quote, "I remember turning onto the street and then my vision fades to black. It really kills me not being able to remember anything." She went on to say, "I've been asking my therapist why I don't remember, and she said it's because of trauma, but I'm going to try to get hypnotized to make myself remember." At the trial, Mackenzie's mother also said that she was the one who encouraged Mackenzie to continue living her life and having fun after her boyfriend's death. She said that Mackenzie lost her entire heart and her world, and she didn't want her daughter to suffer. She told her to live her life instead of just being depressed and isolating herself. So that's why she went to those concerts and posted on social media and acted like nothing was wrong, because her mother told her to. Then the defense said that after the crash, while Mackenzie was in the hospital, she did express grief and remorse for the deaths. She was clearly upset and was heartbroken over the deaths of her boyfriend and friend. But the prosecution believed that Mackenzie was pretending not to remember the crash so that she didn't have to explain herself. They also fired back at Mackenzie's mother, who again let her drive her car around after the crash. They asked why, if she suffered from such severe POTS that caused her to faint and have dizzy spells, so bad to the point that she's passing out and ended up in the hospital, why is Natalie letting her daughter continue to drive the car? That is very dangerous and a decision that no mother would make if they truly believed that their child is in danger of passing out and causing an accident and possibly being very seriously injured. They also testified that when Mackenzie originally applied for her license and subsequently renewed it, she listed no medical conditions that could impact her driving on her application. So she either avoided telling the DMV about it and lied, or she doesn't actually suffer from the condition. There were also no doctors or other medical professionals that the defense brought forward to confirm that Mackenzie had this condition. So really, they only had Natalie's word to rely on to determine if she truly had POTS. They also argued that if she lost control of the car, why does it seem so obvious in the surveillance video that she's going straight forward into the wall? Why isn't the car swerving or veering off as you would expect from someone who unexpectedly passed out at the wheel? Also, if Mackenzie had passed out and lost control, why didn't Dominic grab the wheel and turn it to try and avoid the giant wall that they were about to hit? If I'm in the car with someone and they suddenly passed out and they were going crazy fast speeds because of it, I would be panicked, and while I wouldn't know exactly what to do, I would at least try to grab the wheel instinctually and try to turn it to avoid crashing into something if it were right in front of me. I feel like most people would do that. But if she had her hands on the wheels and was deliberately going straight forward, it makes sense that Dominic wouldn't have even been able to turn the wheel because Mackenzie already had a firm grasp on it, and he was probably just trying to make sense of what she was doing while she was speeding up. Then in addition to this, in my opinion, I think the fact of her posting on Dominic's obituary and texting his mother after the fact and all of that, I think that just points to the fact that, one, she wanted to appear that she had this perfect relationship even though she didn't, and two, I think she wanted attention. I think she does seem to be the type of person who seeks attention, and I think after she caused this crash, she wanted attention from others, she wanted sympathy, she was in the hospital, she went around with her wheelchair after the fact. I think she wanted attention because she was injured and her boyfriend and her friend were dead. That's just my opinion. So after hearing all of the evidence and the arguments on both sides, as well as testimony from Dominic's, Davion, and Mackenzie's families, which took 4 days, the judge came to her decision. She agreed with the prosecution, saying that she believed that Mackenzie purposely, intentionally, and maliciously murdered Davion and Dominic. And she had absolutely no sympathy or lenience for Mackenzie. She said that it was Mackenzie's decision to cause the crash. It was Mackenzie's decision to end the lives of the 2 young men. She said that the biggest piece of evidence that confirms that this was intentional was that surveillance video, which showed her plowing directly into the building. She said that Mackenzie had a mission to end Dominic's life without considering anybody else's life, not Davion's and not the innocent people that could have been in the other car or the area who could have been hurt by Mackenzie's recklessness. So, she found Mackenzie guilty on 12 counts, including the 2 counts of murder. As the judge was reading her verdict, Mackenzie was crying and had a look of disbelief and shock throughout.
This trial is a culmination of decisions made by one person, the defendant. Those decisions have forever altered the futures of 3 families, and of you also, Mackenzie. And your decisions forever robbed Dominic and Davion of the futures that they had before them. If there is one thing that can be taken away from this case, as painful as it is this: every decision we make is important. Every action we make is important. Regardless of whether the decision is a good one or a bad one, or the actions are good or not, the result is the same. The consequences ripple through time and affect many more people than one might think at the time of the decision. In criminal cases, the state carries the greatest burden under our law, proof beyond a reasonable doubt. As I previously stated, I considered all the evidence presented, and at this point I would like to comment specifically on Exhibit 802, the crash video. This is the type of evidence you can never unsee. You can never forget the visual or audio of this exhibit. It is chilling and tragic. As you review that exhibit, you know that you are watching the oncoming deaths of 2 people, and there is nothing that will stop it. The video clearly shows the purpose and intent of the defendant. She chose a course of death and destruction that day. Exhibit 802 crystallizes the deadly decision-making of the defendant. She morphs from a responsible driver to literal hell on wheels as she makes her way down the street. Mackenzie alone made the decision to drive the car, to drive an obscure route, a route she visited a few days before, and a route not routinely taken by her. Mackenzie alone chose the time to make the drive, early in the morning, when any reasonable person would expect that few people would be nearby to witness it or offer life-saving assistance. She made these decisions despite knowing, as any reasonable person would, that her mission of death could have involved others, not even in the car with her, other people, other cars, pedestrians. She had a mission, and she executed it with precision. The mission was death. Mackenzie alone decided to push the pedal to the floor and demand the ultimate speed of that vehicle to 90 to 100 miles per hour. She alone decided what was to be. Mackenzie decided death was the ultimate goal that day, and she alone made that decision for Dominic and Davion, and she continuously acted in a manner to achieve her purpose. The totality of the evidence clearly demonstrates that Mackenzie Shirilla acted purposely and intentionally in the early morning hours of July 31st, 2022, and her purpose was to kill Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan. No reasonable fact finder could view the totality of this evidence in this case and come to any other conclusion. Her actions were controlled, methodical, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful. This was not reckless driving. This was murder. Court renders the following verdicts. Count 1. The court, having had count 1 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit, Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02a, is charged in count 1. Count 2. The court, having had count 2 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit, Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02a, is charged in count 2 of the indictment. Sentencing will be 1 week from today, August 21st at 1 p.m. If any party wishes to file a sentencing memorandum, it is to be filed by 4 p.m. on Thursday, August 17th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you, baby.
Everybody drinks this, please.
After the verdict was decided and time came for sentencing, the family had a bit of differing stances on what punishment Mackenzie should get. Obviously, everyone involved was devastated to lose Davion and Dominic. Davion's family said that they don't want vengeance. They said that there are no winners in this case and that they're just devastated by the fact that he truly was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Dominic's father, Frank Russo, was a lot more sympathetic towards Mackenzie and her family than I would have been, and more so than a lot of other family members were. He said that she doesn't need a life sentence for what she did. She needed help. He said that Mackenzie is just a kid who effed up and did something stupid, and now not only are his own family and Davion's family destroyed, but so is Mackenzie's. At the same time, though, he did say that he doesn't believe that Mackenzie doesn't remember the crash. He said that she's faking a gap in her memory, even saying that if she would just stop pretending and tell them what happened, that they would accept a lesser sentence for her. But Dominic's sister, Christine, she disagreed. She said that Mackenzie is still breathing. Her family gets to see her, to talk to her, to tell her they love her. She said that they are lucky. Meanwhile, she and her family don't get to see Dominic ever again. He lost his life, and he will never get to accomplish what he wanted to do in life because of Mackenzie, and Mackenzie still gets to live her life and do anything that she wanted, obviously within prison, but she'll still get to do things that she wanted to do and live her life. At the sentencing, the judge emphasized just how cruel, terrifying, and brutal the deaths of these two young men were. The judge said that Mackenzie purposely chose the date, which was just before her 18th birthday, so that she would still be a juvenile when she caused the crash. She talked about how she chose the place and the time for the crash to ensure that nobody would be around for it. She talked about how she didn't believe that this was an accident caused by Mackenzie's condition or a mechanical failure by the car. It was on purpose. She said that Mackenzie morphs from a responsible driver to literal hell on wheels as she makes her way down the street. For these charges, she was handed 2 sentences of 15 years to life behind bars, to be served concurrently. She will only have to serve 15 years total before she's considered eligible for parole, so she'll be in her mid-30s when she's eligible, and if she is released at that time, that will give her plenty of time to live her life, which I just see is very unfair. After hearing her sentence, Mackenzie addressed the court to say that she is sorry for what she did.
Today is the sentencing of the defendant for the purposeful and intentional murders of Davion Flanagan and Dominic Russo. And in a way, it's the second time their families are gathered again to grieve. It's also a day when Mackenzie's family will grieve for the future of their daughter. All 3 of these families and the friends of these families are suffering, and all of their lives have been irrevocably changed because of the actions of the defendant. The unintended and collateral consequences of a selfish, intentional, and cruel decision by Mackenzie will ripple forever in time. It's literally changed history because it's ended 2 lives. 2 young men are dead, Their deaths were horrible, terrifying, and tragic. The review of the evidence supports the factual findings, the forensic testimony, the testimony of the first responders, the testimony of the emergency room doctors who treated the defendant, the testimony of the coroner's medical examiner, the testimony of those who knew the victims and the defendant, and the testimony of the BMV official who provided evidence that not only did the defendant deny any medical condition when applying for her license, which her mother co-signed and attested to, but also that just after the accident, Mackenzie renewed her driver's license and again denied any medical condition. In fact, the defendant was so concerned about driving that, as the state mentioned, during the investigation, she asked if they could just suspend her license for 10 years. It is hard to fathom how a person could be concerned about their driving privileges, having just been responsible for the deaths of 2 people. There was no medical condition that caused this as an accident. There was no mechanical failure of the car. The record is clear on the facts and the evidence. Her mother's uncorroborated statements without any medical testimony or records is not persuasive. It is also important to remember that even if Mackenzie intended to also die in this crash, that is irrelevant. A failed suicide attempt is not a defense to murder. And even in a murder-suicide attempt, when the perpetrator executing the plan survives, the other death or deaths are still murder. There's only one person who's responsible for the pain of everyone in this room, and that person is you, Mackenzie. Nobody else is responsible. This isn't the fault of Dominic's family or Davion's family or your family. None of us can control the intentions of another. And when there is a purposeful intent to harm or kill someone, it is the perpetrator alone who bears the responsibility for the choice and the consequences and the harm that follows. The difficulty for sentencing today, honestly, is whether or not I believe you should get consecutive sentences. I'm troubled that should I give you a concurrent sentence, that people will believe that somehow I'm being disrespectful to one of the victims. And on the other hand, I have to weigh the punishment. There's a very good likelihood, Mackenzie, that you will spend the rest of your life in prison. That won't be up to me. That will be up to the parole board, and that will be up to you to a great extent. I understand that the pain in this room wants me to impose the harshest sentence, but I don't believe that would be the appropriate sentence, because I do believe that Mackenzie will not be out in 15 years. So she's sentenced on count 2, the murder of Davion Flanagan, 15 years to life. She's sentenced on count 1, the murder of Dominic Russo, 15 years to life, to be served concurrent to each other with credit for time served.
You're innocent.
Is there anyone else?
I would like Mackenzie to address the court.
Mackenzie, you don't have to speak if you don't want to. It's up to you.
I would love to.
Okay.
You're going to stand up right
You can sit if it's more comfortable.
Okay.
It's better for you.
The families of Dom and Davion, I'm so deeply sorry. I hope one day you can see I would never let this happen or do it on purpose. I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken. I love Dom and Davion. We were all friends, and Dom was my soulmate. I wish I could take all your pain away, and I'm so sorry. And to my family, thank you for the support and all the love you guys give. Thank you for fighting with me. I love you all so much. All right, I'm done. Thank you.
Obviously, in the aftermath, everybody is heartbroken. Different members of Dominic and Davion's family each took the stand to talk about just how much they loved them, how much this immeasurable loss has affected them, and how awful this entire thing was. Meanwhile, Mackenzie's mother continued to say that she didn't think that it was intentional. She didn't think that she had any malice towards Dominic or Davion. She loved Dominic and was friends with Davion. But the judge was not having any of it.
I am the mother of the victim, Davion Flanagan. I want to share a small part of what we lost on 7/31/2022. My son Davion is and always will be so much more than cargo. He was precious. He was an amazing soul with a heart of gold. He gave to the world what he wanted most in his own life: love. The kind of love that would rescue a friend in the middle of the night, no questions asked. The kind that would protect others and honor them. So many dreams shattered, a future stolen. We will never get to see the amazing man that he was surely to become. His life was precious. Like I said, he was so much more than cargo. I pray daily for strength and perseverance for myself and for my family. I also pray that Mackenzie will find true remorse in her heart and true repentance.
My name is Angelo Russo. I'm one of Dominic's older brothers, and I'm speaking today for myself and also on the behalf of our siblings and our friends. Sorry. Dom may have been young, but he made the most of each day and had an impact on the lives of his friends and his family. Dom was a businessman, an athlete, a song producer, and an entrepreneur. Dom was not only my brother, he was also my best friend, and the friends in this courtroom also say Dom was their best friend. Nothing said or done here today can describe the loss or repair our lives after this tragedy. Kenzie's statement in the hospital to Detective Azu, "Can't you just take my license away for 10 years or something?" That statement is Mackenzie Shirilla. The most selfish person I know. Ironically, Dom was the most selfless person I know. Mackenzie Shirilla murdered Dom and Davion in cold blood and had already moved on. Kenzie killed Dom over the thought of losing him, and she made Davion collateral damage. We love you, Dom. We love you, Davion. And God bless the both of you. Thank you so much.
My name is Natalie Shirilla. I just want to say, am I allowed to address them at all? Sure. I just want to say to the families that I'm broken, sad, and lost, and my heart hurts for everyone, okay? Davion was her new friend, and Dom was the love of her life, and he was part of our family, okay? I'm just so sorry that this happened, and we're heartbroken, okay? And then, Your Honor, this was a terrible, tragic nightmare accident to have happened that she has no memory of, and she will never emotionally or physically recover from it. She almost died too. Halloween, for 3 months after the accident, she would only wear his clothes. She would only eat the snacks he ate. She would only listen to the music he wrote, okay? She was laying in bed for 3 months crying. There was a shrine of him next to her with photos and things that he liked, and this flower that lights up that he got her because he wanted it to be fresh and alive forever. It's like a little Beauty and the Beast flower. Okay, she's got this shrine of him next to her. So she was crying for 3 months. So her friends asked if she wanted to go out trick-or-treating or Halloween, and it was at OU. And she didn't even want to go. She said, I don't know, should I go? She couldn't even walk yet, barely. So I told her, I said, baby, please go. It's Halloween. You've been laying for 3 months crying, only listening to his music. Please go have just a moment of fun, a moment of fun. So we told her to go. My husband drove her. I brought her back home. She just needed a second of fun from losing her whole world, So that was us. We told her to go.
I'm hearing an awful lot about your daughter. I'm not hearing very much about the two dead people.
Dominic, okay, I'm asking you for leniency because this was a tragic accident that she does not remember. And Davion, he's a new friend, and I'm so sorry.
Does that mean his life is worthless?
No. God, no, not at all. They all loved each other. They all spent every day together. You know what I mean? I don't know too much for him.
Isn't that part of the problem, Mrs. Schmidt?
Sorry?
Isn't that part of the problem, that they all trusted each other? Isn't that part of
It's not a problem at all. It was wonderful.
how they all ended up in the car together and people ended up dead?
I understand. I understand what it looks like. I'm saying that it was a tragic accident. She would never.
Well, we're going to have to disagree.
I understand.
Right, and I respect your position. You disagree with me.
I understand. But anyway, that's it. I just wanted to address those. We told her to go to those things, and then she did go with Dom's family. So look at that. Don't look at it with the look on that with different eyes if you can, please.
Those things are not relevant.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. But she's a good. If you would have a moment, all you would need is 5 minutes of a conversation to have with her to learn who she is. Just that you would just need 5 minutes to learn who she is and what she's capable of not doing and doing, and you would see for yourself. That's all. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I love you.
So, at the end of all of this, Mackenzie is in prison for murder, though she plans to appeal. We will have to wait and see how all of that goes because I truly don't know. I feel that she probably will be on her best behavior in prison, and I do think that she will be paroled at some point. That's just my opinion on what will happen, not what I want to happen, obviously. I agree that Mackenzie was selfish. I think that she had a very toxic relationship with Dominic, and from what we have seen, she truly seemed to be the cause of that toxicity. I think that she caused that accident on purpose, and I think that she wanted to hurt or kill Dominic and had absolutely no regard for Davion or anybody around them. There were arguments in trial that maybe she was trying to kill herself as well, but I didn't really talk about that point because I don't think it matters. We know plenty of cases where someone kills another person or someone in their family or their entire family and then attempts to kill themselves or does kill themselves, and I still don't have any empathy for those people, and I have even less empathy for reckless drivers that cause death. I think that if you make the choice to get behind the wheel of a car while you are intoxicated in any way, or if you choose to drive recklessly because you think it's cool or fun or whatever, that you're a selfish loser. When you drive recklessly, not only is your own life and anybody else in the car with you put into danger, but everybody else on the road with you is also in danger. If you think that your reckless driving is okay because you're smart about it, which is an excuse I've heard many times, or you do it all the time and nothing bad has happened yet, then I'm talking to you. Because it's never okay, it's never acceptable, and whether Mackenzie did this on purpose or not, which, for the record, I do think she did do this on purpose, neither situation makes it okay. Driving is a privilege and should be treated as the person operating heavy machinery that can be used as a lethal weapon, because that is what it is. At the end of the day, I think that Mackenzie is a murderer, and I hope she serves as much time in prison as possible. Because of her selfishness, 2 young lives were lost and 2 families are shattered, and that is unforgivable. And again, to close out this video, to anybody that drives like a damn maniac, just know that you are a selfish piece of trash loser, and I don't like you. It's not worth it to drive like an idiot just to get to your destination 2 minutes sooner. I'd rather make it to my destination late than never at all, because I was hit by some idiot who thinks that driving fast and weaving in traffic and being reckless is more important than the lives of literally everybody around them. If that is you, please do some internal work and introspective thinking. But either way, that is where I am going to end today's video. You guys know that I could rant about topics that I'm passionate about for a long time, and reckless driving is one of them. But now I want to know what you all think. Do you think that Mackenzie murdered Dominic and Davion on purpose? Do you think that she meant to kill herself as well? Do you think this was a thought-out, planned murder? Or do you think it was a spur-of-the-moment decision? Or do you agree with the defense and think this was just an accident? What do you think of the sentence that Mackenzie got? Let me know this and any other thoughts that you have on this case in the comments below. If you like this video, please make sure to go ahead and leave this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I put out new true crime and mystery videos every single week. Don't forget to turn that notification bell to on so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Make sure you go ahead and follow my Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All of those are linked down below. And if you have any case suggestions, please make sure to fill out the Google form that is also listed down below. With that, I hope you guys have an amazing week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope to see you next time.